Jake Feinberg Show. Welcome back inside the Parisi Palace, high above 2919 East Broadway. This is the Jake Feinberg Show on powertalk.live. Please go to our website, download our free app to your smartphone, and stream all of our live local shows. We thank you for making us part of your day today. Without further ado, I want to bring in a guy who just likes to be part of a band. Tom Leadon, welcome back to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thanks, Jake. Good to be back.
Good to hear you, man. How you been?
I've been good. How have you been?
Cooking away, man. Just trying to continue to enlighten. I've had a pretty heavy week, actually. Had a chance to interview Huey Lewis and a few other cats for the Stan Getz documentary that I'm working on. So it's just great to talk to people that regular peeps. And I wanted to ask you a question.
Okay.
I know you're not on Facebook, but it's resonating. I transcribed your. I don't think you're on Facebook, but I transcribed your quote from our first interview about Jamerson telling that guy one. Any note can be the one. And I got to tell you, it's already been shared like a dozen times. People are freaking out about it. They love it.
Oh, really?
They love, yeah, because I have been driving most of this enlightenment through Facebook. So if you're not on, you should get on because people are loving this stuff. But the point is,
okay,
in the process of that quote, you said it's unfortunate because we never had a chance to record. And I wanted to ask you if you could think back in your career and talk about a band, not Mudcrutch or anything like that, or Johnny Rivers, but a band that is not known very well by the general public that you did get to record with that you are proud
of. Well, let's see.
And I mean in the sense of like nobody knew that you and Jamerson had a band. So, it's one of these things that just sort of that you're glad that it's documented. All I can say is that like your page on All Music needs to be updated. Like there's just you were a monster session player. There's just not a lot out there. So I'm just trying to shed some light here.
No, I didn't really do that many sessions. I did some notable ones like with Johnny Rivers when we had Brian Wilson and Tom Scott on the session of Help Me Rhonda when we recut that. And then I had a band called James Lee and the Gators that played around Los Angeles area for a year and a half, and we did some really good demos in big name studios, but never got a record deal. That was a really good band. I mean, I've been in a lot of really good bands that didn't get a record deal. In the old days before the internet and YouTube and everything, if you did not get a record deal, just about all you could afford to do was make cassette tapes. And that was, limited quality and, limited distribution, just so, the record companies were the gatekeepers. And if you didn't get signed, then nobody outside of your area would hear of you. And so I've been in quite a few bands like that, more than I could remember. But it's the band that I did record with that most people haven't heard about. You know all about because of Brent Midland and Silver. We had that one hit, but that hit song was not really representative of who we are. The album really was, and most people haven't heard of that, but I was very proud of that, and I thought we made a really good album. And I don't know, the thing with Jamerson was we were basically all sidemen. I wasn't a strong frontman then. I was looking to be a sideman and to do sessions, and that's how I met him and the other guys. And so we weren't really set up to be an act of our own. We were more set up to back other singers, and that's what we did a lot of.
Let me ask you, you said something there. Can you talk about how you grew, how you became, if you are, a strong leader? How did you, what did you need to grow in at that time? Because it was the Tom Leadon band, but at the time, what was, how did you become a strong frontman?
Well, experience and education, I guess you might say. I took voice lessons around that time that I was playing with James for 2 years with Mark Forrest in Hollywood. And he was a former actor and bodybuilder that had studied with the vocal teachers in Italy, learning opera for 10 years with the master vocal teachers. And he was an incredible singer and teacher. And I took two lessons a week, an hour each lesson for 2 years. That helped my singing quite a bit. And then the other thing was the songwriting. I've gotten a lot better writing songs, and part of that was just writing a lot, and also moving here to Nashville helped me a lot. They're much more critical here about lyrics. The music here, I think, could be improved on in general as far as the commercial country music. It seems like it could be a little more adventurous and creative and so forth. That's my criticism. But lyrically, they are sticklers. I mean, every word better be the best word for that line. And you know, it's very competitive. And I was trying to do that for a few years, and I was co-writing with people that had hits and everything. And that helped me a lot. But you know, my music, I'm working on an album now with a group here that I'm going to be the front man of, but it's not going to be the Tom Leadon Band. It's going to be a group name that we haven't decided yet. But I'm working on that, and I'm pretty much writing all the songs. I've written so many songs over the years, going way back to the early '80s, and that's back when I knew Jamerson and stuff. Some of them are even Motown influenced, and just a variety of things that are mostly influenced by the music of the 60s.
This is fast. Can you talk, so that they're sticklers for lyrics, how could they be more adventurous melodically and dynamically in the music? I agree with you. I mean, when I think of country, authentic country music, truly, I think of the Flying Rhythm Aces, or I think of, bluegrass music, Appalachian music. Obviously, there's, Southern rock, but I mean, I think that's a bad, terminology. But I'm just saying, how could they be? Yeah. How could they be more adventurous? How could they be more, especially as it relates to melody and dynamics?
They could just pay more attention to it. And you come in and you write with somebody, and a lot of times they can't hardly even play their instrument. They're more just lyricists. Or a lot of times, the majority of the time, they just know a few chords, and they play them all the time, G, C, D. It's just like, okay.
Right.
It tends to sound the same over and over and over. And then also, what you're hearing on country radio, one reason it sounds so much the same is that the same writers are tending to write most of it, and the same studio musicians are playing on all of it, and the same producers are producing all of it, and they're just bringing in different singers. And so I decided several years ago that, hey, I don't care if they're making a lot of money. I just don't want to. I tell you what it was, Jake. I saw what I had to do to be successful at that I would have to fit into a smaller and smaller box creatively, to the point where I just decided I don't want to do that. I'm not going there any farther in that. I'm going to go the other way, totally just write what I feel and what I love. And that was a big breakthrough for me, really, because and I decided also I just want to be a member of a band. And to tell you the truth, it wasn't that much longer after that Tom Petty called me. And then I was, at least we have a band now that's playing part-time, and it's really a lot more, what I grew up doing, what I love to do. And I have this group I'm trying to get going here. We're working on our first album, and I want it to be a band thing, and that's just what I love to do. I tell my students, try to figure out what you're good at and what you love, and just do that. And because I have spent a lot of my life trying this and trying that, and when you try to do something that's not really your strength or what you love the most, you're not going to be that successful, in my opinion.
No, I agree.
Because it's too competitive. You better do what you're best at, and you better do what you love to do, so that you're not spending all your time doing something that you don't love, and competing with people that are better doing at something that isn't your strength, really.
Oh, it's so well it's so well articulated. But I want to talk. I want to ask you.
Okay.
Spiritually, how can you describe the spiritual quality of saying, I'm going towards peace and happiness instead of money and being constricted, and then within a short period of time, Petty's calling you and you got to pull over to the side of the road and your frozen dinners are melting in the back seat. What does that mean to you spiritually? You know what I'm saying? What is that? What is?
Oh yeah.
Talk about that. That's important for cats because. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think that it was kind of an answer to a prayer, or kind of like just a karma thing. You know, like I opened myself up to going back to my roots, what I really loved, and then one of my, the guy that has probably been my closest friend in my life calls me back and opens this whole thing for me and for us, and all of us in Mudcrutch are just enjoying that so much. And then I want to get something else going here, while they're doing Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and I want to have a group here that I can play with and see what happens with that. Partially because, when you write songs, I've heard this said before, and I feel this way, they're almost like your children. And if I just don't ever get them out there, someday when I die, they're like children that never got to go into the world. Nobody ever gets to appreciate them or enjoy them, and that's the whole point of the whole point of what my main motivation is. I want to create something that people will enjoy, that will bring them some enjoyment into their lives, because life is hard, and I just enjoy. I can be having like a lousy day or be somewhat maybe depressed or whatever, and I hear a great song and suddenly I feel good, and there's not enough of that in the world. There's so much of it, but you listen to the music you love, and pretty soon you've heard it so many times, and so there never can be enough of it. I mean, and there's not enough new stuff, in my opinion, that's exciting me like it used to. I don't know. Everybody's prejudiced toward when they grew up, when they were first really excited about music. And I feel fortunate that it was the 60s when I really got excited about, the Beatles and then the Byrds and on, so many great groups that were happening then. And so that's my biggest influence.
Can you talk about another cat that I had a chance? He was the one that first originally hit me to Mudcrutch because he was a member of the band for a while, and then he was also a member of the band at Silver. It was a guy named Greg Collier. Can you talk about Greg a little bit?
Greg was in what band was he in, did he say?
Greg mentioned that he was in Mudcrutch for a minute.
No, that's completely, you must have misunderstood him.
Okay.
He never was even near, he was, they don't even know who Greg Collier is, I'm sure.
Okay, but you did collaborate with him in Silver, is that right?
Yeah, he was in Silver when I joined Silver. He was in Silver. He was one of the five of us. He was one of the original three guys, and then Harry Stinson and I joined him and Brent Midland and John Batdorf.
but he had no collaboration with Mudcrutch ever, even though you were gone from Mudcrutch.
No.
Yeah, no.
None, period. I don't think that when I was in Silver that those guys had ever even heard of Mudcrutch.
Let's go back.
Unless I told them.
No, I'll go back and look at my notes. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
I'd be really surprised if he said he was in Silver. It must have been something got crossed there.
Absolutely.
You misunderstanding or whatever happened. But anyway, he wasn't in Silver. But did you want to know something about Greg?
Well, to me, this band, Silver, I talked to you about Brent last time. You talked about these 5-part harmonies and how tight the band was. And I would love you to talk about Collier. I really had a ball talking to him a while back. And I'm going to have to go and check this out, and we'll get to the bottom of it. But go ahead. Talk about Collier.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, but I can definitively tell you he never was in Mudcrutch. There were a couple of other guys like Danny Roberts, especially, that was in Mudcrutch after I had left, and Charlie Souza for a short time. That's been pretty well documented. But Greg is a really good songwriter and singer, and he plays guitar, and he made a album. He probably told you about. He gave me a copy of it, and so that. I really like that. And we did like 5-part harmonies, and we used to, I wanted to tell you this, we used to stand around Brent Midland's piano and practice our harmonies at rehearsals, without all the other instruments, just to get the harmonies tight. And I was always watching Brent play, and I realized that's where I got my piano style that I play now. Ever since then, is by watching him play and listening to what he did. But it was when he was backing up vocals, whether he was singing his own song, the lead vocal, or if we were all singing harmony, he'd play basically octaves with his left hand, like with his little finger and his thumb, and then he'd play a 4-note chord. 4 usually, or possibly 5, but usually 4 notes with the right hand, different chord inversions, and then just get a rhythm going with the 2 hands. That's a very simple and effective style, and I'm sure a lot of people do that, but it works very well, and I've put a few tracks down on the new album I'm working on here with my band here on keyboard, and I was very pleased with how it's going. And those were the first ones I'd ever recorded. And I just thought of that after we talked the last time.
I love that. That is one of the greatest stories I love that. That is great, man.
Oh, well, thank you. I thought you might appreciate that.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, no, this is great stuff. I mean, so are you saying you modeled it the same way you did back then with your new band? Yeah.
I mean, that is ever since I played with Brent, I realized looking back, I've been playing keyboard that way, and I totally got it from him. Before I watched Brent play, all I knew about, like from my mother's piano, is doing little triads with 3 notes with my right hand and playing 1 bass note. And you can't get that much out of that. It's not full enough, but when I watched Brent, I realized, he's getting octaves with his left hand, and he's doing a 4-note chord rather than a 3-note chord. So he's doubling at least one of the notes that are in the triad so that he gets 4 with his right hand. And then you just get, you just do it in some kind of rhythm with different patterns for the bass and the chords. And then, if you have a fill or something, you do that while you keep the bass going. Or, that was the basic idea. That's pretty much what he was doing. And he, of course, he was well capable and way beyond what I can do with his, to get something going with his right hand for a solo or something. But because he was really actually very advanced.
Now, I just want to go back to go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I just I'm looking back with my notes here with Greg Collier, and his last note was Mudcrutch. I was asking him, could you connect me with Tom Leadon? This is back in April of this year, and or even last year maybe, and he said Tom's original band he had back in Gainesville, Florida, before moving to California. Oh, this is Tom Petty's band before moving to California and starting the Heartbreakers. Our bass player Tom Leadon from Silver was the other lead guitar with Mike Campbell. Yeah. Tom Petty put his original band back together about 5 years ago and released 2 albums, did a short tour. My oldest son Jesse and I saw them at the Troubadour in Hollywood. Hope to see them again this time. So Greg Collier, my apologies. He never was in Mudcrutch. Okay.
Yeah, he didn't say that either. But he did come by and see us in Santa Ana when we were there. And he gave me this album called Songs from the Blind Trail that he has recently put out. Really good.
He sent that to me too. Yeah. No, I love Greg. Is a sweet. Greg also was very close with Brent. Brent was a real tortured soul. He was a real tortured soul.
He was.
You know, he didn't have. I think he was probably somewhere on the autistic spectrum before diagnosis. He could not really express himself verbally. Greg said he would lock himself in a room and really come out of there after 4 or 5 hours with like 3 or 4 tunes, and he really expressed himself through his music. You know, and.
Yeah.
Obviously, I get off on his stuff with the Grateful Dead, but he was a brilliant cat, and I'm. Yeah. Go ahead.
He never seemed to be very happy. You know, he was always worried. It seemed like a lot of it was financially. You know, he was worried about getting his rent and stuff. You know, making his enough money. But I think I didn't realize. But we had the same dentist. Him and John Batdorf and Greg and. I think John turned us on to this really nice guy that lives in L.A. And he told me, gosh, a couple years later, that Brent really, even when he was in the Grateful Dead at that time, he really missed Silver, you know, how much Silver meant to him. And I didn't really even realize that when we had the group, you know. I mean, he just seemed to be so, I don't know. He was kind of, his outlook was very pessimistic, I guess you would say, no matter what was going on. He had this little saying, he'd say, "Ye greet," like, yeah, great, but he'd say, "Ye greet." That was the way he said it. And basically it was sort of a sarcastic way of saying he didn't really think things were great.
Yeah, he was always kind of sardonic and even, anyway, a dark cloud at times, but an idiot savant nonetheless.
He was a sweet guy, though. You know, beyond all that.
Tom, you know, I wanted to ask you about, you know, the qualities that you believe. I don't think we touched on this last time. Was who was the best leader you ever worked for, and what are the qualities of leadership that you believe are most prescient if you're going to lead a band?
Well, the best leader I've worked with is Tom Petty. He's just really a good leader. He's a strong songwriter, and he is really good on stage. And it means a lot to him. So he works hard. Even now, he doesn't need the money, obviously. In no way, shape, or form did he need to do Mudcrutch. But he did it, you know, because of love of the music and love of the people. But, you know, when he makes an album, he really works on sequencing it and, you know, trying to make sure he gets the best songs possible onto the record. And then when we do our shows, he really works on the sequencing of the show and trying to get it where it will flow really good and the energy will build up toward the end. And he's just a really good band leader in the studio and on stage. And you know, I've been in a lot of bands that had a lot of great musicians that didn't have that. And I believe that what a band needs to be successful is someone that's a strong songwriter and a good lead singer, or at least a strong lead singer if not a great lead singer, at least an effective one. You know, somebody, because with singing, I mean, it's not just how good you are, but it's how much you are unique. You know, like Willie Nelson or Bob Dylan in his prime, you know, they were very effective lead singers, but you won't say that they're great like an opera singer or something. You know, you don't have to be Roy Orbison. You know, you can be Tom Petty and be great. You know, so I think you've got to have somebody in the band that's really a strong frontman, lead singer, and especially songwriter, because it all comes down to the songs. If you don't have really good songs, no matter how good you play them, you're not going to rise above the material. With Silver, we practiced so much. We were so tight with our harmony. But I think, looking back, I wish we'd spent more time writing, maybe co-writing with each other, just trying to come up with stronger material. I mean, the stuff we did was okay for guys that are, you know, like 23, 24 years old, and yet I don't think we were as competitive in that area as we might have been if we had focused more on it.
Well, Tom, it was just I hope to have you back on again, especially once your band gets up and running in Nashville. I'd love to have you come back on the show and talk a little bit more. You know, it's been a ball connecting with you, man. I really appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure, Jake. Thank you so much, and thanks to your listeners.
Absolutely.
I really have enjoyed.
Well, we'll be in touch. You know, we'll be together again, my friend. It was great, and I appreciate you dropping knowledge on everybody today.
My pleasure.
All right. Bless you, brother. Talk to you soon.
Okay, same to you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye. So, Reed Mathis from his new project, Electric Beethoven, going to hit the shelves pretty soon. Beethoven was not a classical musician. Michael Shreve, Carlos Santana's drummer, played a few live shows after their new album. Wish there were more. Tom Leadon, still doing his thing with Mudcrutch. His prayer was answered. Tom Petty doesn't need the money, doing it for love. We used to play for silver. Now we play for life. Mike Roper, thank you. We'll be back next week, start of a new month. The Jake Feinberg Show rolls on. Peace.
I've been around the world a few times, but I don't understand. I just like to play the blues. It's not all the money that I want. I just like to play the blues. And I like for everybody to get together and all of us play the blues. Let's have a good time. Because blues is where it's at. I'm telling you, I love it. I can't help but play it. So when you wake up in the morning,
you're a gig,
and ain't got no money, or no gig, whatever you call it, you ain't got nothing but the blues no way, baby. Or either your old lady gonna do yakking you and arguing with you, telling you once you get up and do something.